There are a bunch of different systems in your body, and you know what? Health for all of them is very important. We've talked a ton about the cardiovascular system, the respiratory system, even your immune system on the channel, but specifically the endocrine system, as far as I can remember, haven't done anything specifically designed to address that. And of course, the endocrine system is very, very important to maintain good health in because it involves your hormonal balances in your body, and then if you have any sort of ethereal illnesses within it, your endocrine system is going to play a big part in regulating that as well. So let's just do a little overview, shall we? Hormones may not seem like a big deal until they dramatically change. Think about puberty, menopause, pregnancy. Two of those things I will never go through, and one of them, that's long in the past. Some 20 years at this point. Jeez, actually. Wow, that's strange to think about. Anyways, or some other moment in life marked by physical, mental, or emotional upheaval. Your body's endocrine system is the infrastructure responsible for manifesting these life-altering hormonal shifts. However, most of the time, this system is geared towards more routine concerns like your sleep cycle, tissue repair, and blood sugar stability. When it comes to our understanding of the endocrine system, most of us have heard of a few glands and a handful of hormones such as testosterone, estrogen, and cortisol. And that's not clear is how everything works together as a whole. There is a lot to know about the endocrine system. There are many parts, numerous chemicals, and a relatively recent discovery that helps explain how the system functions. Well, let's take a look, shall we? The endocrine system consists of about 50 hormones, which is produced by organs called glands. These glands include the pituitary, pineal, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, pancreas, and adrenals, as well as sex-specific glands, the testes, and the ovaries. Yes, those are medical terms. Your body has other glands, but only the ones listed above are a part of the endocrine system. Remaining glands, such as sweat and tear ducts, belong in what is known as the exocrine system. The lymphatic system also has its own glands. Yes, you can imagine the lymph nodes are probably a part of those. Endocrine glands are ductless organs that secrete hormones directly into the bloodstream. You can think of hormones as the communication methods glands use to conduct and coordinate bodily functions. Hormones are often called chemical messengers because they instruct different parts of the body to perform activities at the right moment. Most of this communication happens in the background without us having to think about it. Just imagine all these chemical messengers sailing through your body and just yelling at each other at all times. Boy, that would be annoying. Thankfully, they're silent. Now, add this to the rather sophisticated system, to another system to coordinate it. The endocrine system doesn't work in isolation. Tiny structures in the brain actually conduct the entire show. As you can see, yes, those are the important glands, the adrenal gland in your kidneys, the pituitary glands in your brain, the pineal gland right smack dab in the middle, the testicle if you're male, ovaries if you're female, the pancreas, of course, just in your torso as well, the thyroid in your neck, and the thymus as well with your thyroid. Got it good, since it's understood. Brain control. No, not what Bill Gates is just trying to research, or even Elon Musk with his Neuralink. Central command of the endocrine system is called something called the HPA axis. H stands for hypothalamus, P for pituitary, A for adrenal. The gland associated with a fight or flight response. You can think of the HPA axis as a point where your neurological system and endocrine system meet. The pituitary gland, found deep in your brain, is sometimes known as the master gland because it controls all the other endocrine glands in the body. It is only the size of a pea. This small gland takes its orders from another tiny gland, the hypothalamus, which comes in at about the size of an almond. So you got a pea and an almond deciding all of your bodily functions. Isn't that nice to know? Doesn't matter how big you are, whether you're 6'6" or you're 5'3", the pea and an almond make it all go round. How wonderful. Hypothalamus tells the pituitary what to do, and the pituitary sends messages to whichever other gland is in the body as specialized for the desired task. For example, the pituitary taps the pancreas to trigger insulin production in order to get the nutrients out to the bloodstream and into the cells. The wild card of the HPA axis is the adrenal glands, 3-inch pieces of tissue that rest on top of each kidney. These are the glands associated with stress and survival survival, and they produce a stress hormone called cortisol, which is both good and bad. And we've talked about cortisol fairly extensively. Extensively is not a word. The adrenal glands are not found in the brain with the rest of the HPA axis, but when the situation calls for it, these glands become the whole system's top priority. For example, when the adrenals secrete a significant amount of cortisol, the body suppresses production of testosterone, a hormone associated with a male sex drive and muscle mass. According to Dr. Andrew Neville, a naturopath in Pennsylvania who specializes in adrenal issues, the body holds back on testosterone in order to focus its immediate resource on survival. The body shuts down the things that aren't that important, like procreation. It doesn't care about the periods or your sex life. Forget all of that. We need to take care of this threat, and we can switch it back on when we survive the fight. Yes, exactly. That's why when you're running for your life, even if he had to take a leak prior to that, that's just kind of shifted to the hindbrain for the time being. It's still there, but it's just not that pressing at the time. It all works in this incredibly delicate, dynamic, nuanced response. I tell my patients that the endocrine system is working. It's like a professional philharmonic orchestra with a seasoned conductor of 30 years experience. It's exquisite. It is part to alter that function. Then it starts to sound like a middle school band. It's not that pretty. There is a lot that can go wrong because hormones really orchestrate much of the physiological mechanisms such as healing, cellular repair, making neurotransmitters, and turning genes on and off. Glandular duties. With an appreciation for the HPA axis, we can consider the remaining glands of the endocrine system and the jobs they perform. Starting at the top with the thyroid, the gland that is found at the base of the throat, and it gets its name for the ancient Greek word for shield. Oh, interesting. However, some say that it looks like a butterfly. It's kind of a goofy shield. The thyroid oversees a variety of functions, including sleep, metabolism, weight, menstrual cycles, and heart rate. Yes, whenever you see somebody who's too fat and lazy to take responsibility for their own life, oh, it's glandular, it's a thyroid problem. Yeah, sure, you don't hear about too many thyroid problems in deepest, darkest Africa, do you? The thymus gland is associated with immunity. The gland found in the upper chest produces hormones that trigger the release of things like white blood cells and T cells, but also secretes hormones to guide your growth. Your thymus is much larger when you're young, and it starts to shrink when you hit puberty. It becomes progressively smaller as you age, hence why you release a lot less human growth hormones. And after puberty, you just stop growing at the same rate that you normally would. Pancreas is a gland associated with digestion, located next to the stomach. Pancreas is best known for secreting insulin, but it also produces ghrelin and leptin hormones, broadcast to the HPA axis to communicate our levels of hunger and satiation. Last but certainly not least are the sex glands, wow, chicka, wow, wow, which of course guide reproduction. Testosterone is typically a hormone associated with men, while women are synonymous with estrogen and progesterone. However, both the testes and ovaries produce all three sex hormones. Bet you didn't know that. Females develop menstrual cycles that include a regular release of estrogen and progesterone over a 28 to 30-day cycles that spans from puberty to menopause. Yes, men have far more constant release of the primary hormone, testosterone, yet testosterone production still varies on a daily basis. For example, testosterone elevates a bit in the morning, drops late in the afternoon, elevates in the evening, only to stop during sleep to elevate again in the morning. Let's talk about some changes and what happens when those things get thrown off balance. The HPA axis acts when the brain and the whole endocrine process, but the communication works in two ways. After glands receive instructions from central command, they respond with hormonal replies back to the HPA axis. These replies are essential to making the system run smoothly. The hypothalamus needs feedback to communicate or to calculate its next move and instruct the pituitary to broadcast a new set of instructions to glands below. This ongoing endocrine correspondence continues day and night for as long as we live. It's a very delicate, ornate, and articulate set of systems and processes that serve to keep the body in a continuous state of adaptive regulation. Dr. James Giordano of Georgetown University's Medical Center says, much of Giordano's work explores the role of the mind in its landscape of the endocrine system. He examines the means and processes of hormonal control and the influence on cognition, emotion, and behavior. It is not that we're biological automatons. We all have primary biological instincts and drives. We're mammals, and the beauty of our nervous system, whether it's a human being, dog, giraffe, or it is not in its capability for engagement, it's in its capability of restraint. In other words, we play a conscious role in ongoing conversations of hormonal communication. Things like puberty, blood sugar regulation, and beyond our control, beyond our conscious control. But other hormonal drives like sex and hunger can be nagging and incessant influence on our lives. However, we ultimately decide how these things get expressed. Quantities of hormones we produce vary from person to person, and even vary within same person throughout the day. But if our bodies fail to produce enough of a particular hormone, numerous symptoms can result. Much of the time, treatment for endocrine disorders involves supplementing for hormones we may be deficient in. This can think about insulin injections for diabetics or some other form of hormone replacement therapy. There's always ways to improve our endocrine system function that do not require pills or needles. For example, what we eat and how much food we consume can directly influence the insulin sensitivity of our cells, exactly, which means our pancreas doesn't have to produce as much insulin and then eventually burn out. Neville says, simply trying to live in balance with nature can be a positive influence on hormone levels. We are rhythmic beings. We're designed that way. If a woman can improve her circadian rhythm, she can actually normalize her ovarian hormones. So get up with the sun, normalize your sleep-wake cycles, and get adequate sleep. It's about finding balance. We know it's incredibly important for health in general, but we have had a hard time sticking to it in modern, toxic, fast-paced, stressful world we live in. Fortunately, there are things we can do to lower our stress response, such as eating well, meditating, enjoying healthy social engagement, or spending time in nature, or if you're an introvert, spending time alone. Preventing the body from wasting its precious hormonal resources on chronic stress is important to our overall health. We all have thresholds for what we can and can't tolerate. In some cases, these are learned. In many cases, they're trainable and modifiable. Exactly. So that's just a 30,000-foot view of the endocrine system, what glands are important, what hormones are produced, and what you can do in order to maintain a healthy endocrine system, which I hope you all do. With all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.